That's right. Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Italian stereotype Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
That's Jacob Wile, too.
And welcome to the Super Mario Brothers movie SpoilerCast. We're going to do literally the whole podcast in this voice. No, we're not. All right, folks. How y'all doing? This is a big moment for animation. The internet is going crazy. You know, the divide between the tomato meter and the critic and the audience feedback has never been higher. It's divided times we live in, but we're here to talk it down and break down all the Super Mario Brothers movie Easter eggs and spoilers and just general what we thought of the movie. So with us tonight, we have a very special guest star making his grand debut on the podcast. It is the one and only Chris Yu.
Mamma mia! Hello, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, not a problem, Chris. So, Chris, out of the four of us, you're the only one who's actually been to the real Mushroom Kingdom. One could say, Mushroom Kingdom, here we come. But, so what was that like, Chris? Just off the top, I'm kind of curious. Like, you know, like seeing this movie after you've been to the land.
Yeah, it's pretty much like every boy and girl's dream to actually like be there and see it like live and like in person. It's pretty much what you actually imagine it to be. If you're a fan of the video games, if you've played them as a kid growing up, and like seeing them like coming to life, if you will, it really brings out like a lot of like great memories. Like it's everything that you could ever imagine, actually.
Nice.
But knowing that it's recently opened, I went there just as when like spring break actually started too. And it's just it's pretty much like a nightmare being there, just because like you have to deal with a lot of people taking pictures, the long lines, the wait lists. But visually and like what and all of like the features, and if you will, it's everything that you could ever ask for, actually.
Cool. Right on. And I've got to say, guys, let's go ahead and go round table here. We don't really have an established order. That's okay. But this movie, honestly, aside from, I think there could have been a little bit more character development. Like I have a couple notes, like not even nitpicks, just notes on the character work in this movie. Generally speaking, it's really good. Just, I don't know, maybe Luigi could have had a little bit more to do, little notes like that. But other than that, this is pretty much childhood wish fulfillment. It is everything that I could have wished for. The plot is thin, but I really don't mind at all because, like, much like the games, it's all about having fun, and this movie is pretty much having fun incarnate. So yeah, I really loved it. Dragon, I'll pass it to you. I'm pretty sure out of the four of us, you're the least centered on Nintendo as far as the fandom goes. So what were your thoughts on the movie?
So, I think universally we're all universally. I think we're all collectively familiar with Mario and Nintendo and all that sort of stuff. It's entrenched in the pop culture lexicon and everything. So for me specifically, Mario, my upbringing is mainly the most intersection I've had were the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games for Mario. I had. If I have it right here, it's been a while. The Mario Brothers, I think Super Mario 2 and 3,
Super Mario Advance.
Sure, and Mario Kart, and also beyond that, just a little familiarity with the Donkey Kong animated show briefly. But anyway, so the rest, also and I should say the Donkey Kong Game Boy Advance games as well.
Yeah.
So point being. The rest of it just kind of pop culture osmosis overall. Like, we all know Mario. It's a me. We get it. So, I mean, for me, I've been more so following Illuminations and Despicable Me, and this is them hitting the big leagues. Like, okay, we're tackling like not just any property, like a big property, and this is a big deal that we're actually doing this. So I
reckon you just insulted Dr. Seuss.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm just imagining
actual...
Dr. Seuss like walking away, shedding a single tear.
Believe me, he'd agree. I'm saying an actual chance of success with one of them.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I'm sorry. I just got the visual in my head. I'm sorry.
Anyway. So, point being, this is them hitting the big leagues. I went in this very fresh on Mario as a character. I never went really for the deep lore. It's basically whatever I could remember from playing the Game Boy Advance games in terms of the lore of Mario, and just kind of general, the basics. Princess captured. We're going after Bowser. Bowser's the big scary turtle guy. There's a green version of Mario that's his brother who's taller. You get the idea. So, I went in very fresh on this, and I walked out rather impressed and proud of Illumination for their work here. Admittedly, on the whole, I think this is really ill-timed in terms of the trailers and everything before the movie. This is a little too self-congratulatory, pat on the back-ish for me. It's like, hey, Illumination, they finally have done the Super Mario Brothers movie. You know what they have coming next in their long line of movies? Migration, which feels like, on one hand, looks very unimpressive, very middle of but on the other hand, who knows? It could. I don't think it's going to be this. Could be Mitchell's versus the Machines, but with ducks. Who knows?
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I was more surprised by the directors they had on this. So the directors, I knew these directors, Aaron Horvath and Michael Jelinek, if I'm saying his name remotely correct. I know there's mainly the second guy. These two guys worked on something rather infamous for me. They worked on the Teen Titans Go show and
honestly, they should be better known for their work on Batman: Brave and the Bold.
I was kidding. Yes, thank you. Yes, and Jelinek specifically, he worked on pretty much all the really good stuff. He worked on Return of the Cape Crusaders, Batman: Brave and the Bold, and The Batman, as well as Jackie Chan Adventures. Yeah. Anyway, yes, overall, the movie, I think it succeeded in introducing Mario to the average Joe like myself, because I think it did right by him as a character and on film in general. It was like a good introductory point versus what they attempted back in the 90s, 30 years ago. So, took 30 years, but we got it right.
Right, Jacob, what say you?
Like all of you, I have been familiar with Mario for quite a long time. What's a lot of my early childhood memories of having. I had an NES. Like, it was my older brother's NES, and then I jumped to the PlayStation as far as home consoles go. But I had a Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt cart. So that was like my earliest introduction to Mario. And of course, I had the Donkey Kong GB Game Boy game, and I sunk hours into that. So it's like, and also when it came to the Game Boy Advance, Super Mario Advance, the first one. Like, I sunk a lot of hours into that. I don't think I ever beat it, but I do remember. And the themes, the first level theme to that is stuck in my head. Has been stuck in my head for all eternity. It's like until I actually got some actual home consoles, Nintendo home consoles once again. I don't think I had one until the Wii. Unfortunately. So I missed out on a lot of the home Mario titles, but I did have a lot of the Game Boy, the DS ones. So as you can imagine, I missed out on quite a lot. But thanks to backwards compatibility re-releases, I played a lot of them, and so I must say, as far as the movie goes, I kind of went in with. When it was first announced, I had kind of middling expectations like someone else, but the more I saw, the more impressed I was. And let's just say, from the beginning, from when the Illumination theme started with the Mario Kart horns. From that moment, I was grinning like an idiot almost the whole time.
Yeah, same.
I was like, oh, those sneaky bastards. I was like, you guys, it's like they knew exactly what their audience wanted when it came to this movie. I'll say that much. It's like Mario, Luigi, love them. Bowser was hysterical in this. Jack Black was perfectly cast as Bowser. I would say, and give that Peaches song an Oscar and Grammy nomination immediately.
Dude, seriously, Oscars, best original song. Jack Black needs to perform that song at the Oscars. Seriously.
Peaches.
Peaches.
It's like, I will admit maybe there were some questionable choices. I might need to rewatch it to think that, but basically, as Tiki said, you could see almost the plot coming a lot of the way, but it was it was a reminder that movies, even anime movies like this, can just be fun without just, with good characters, good and spectacular animation by Illumination. Like, it's a great treat. It's some of the most fun I've had in quite a while.
Okay, Chris, what's your overall thoughts?
Yeah, I'm gonna echo on like what has been said so far. I think like when it comes to this movie, I think they did a pretty decent job at like trying to set something up for, I guess, like the future of this franchise, like the future of the succeeding movies, if you will. And it's funny that it's funny what was mentioned, that the migration film is what's gonna like follow after this, which might be a questionable choice. But in terms of like the actual like Mario Brothers movie, I think they did a good job at like knowing their audience, how to captivate that audience and how to cater to that. I think it's pretty much like the storyline, like the visuals and everything, and like all of like the storyline elements are pretty much actually like okay for audiences who are us, who pretty much kind of like grew up playing these video games, but also at the same time for like the current generation, maybe like the Generation Z and those young ones right now who may not have actually grew up playing these games, but who might have like only known Mario from like the newer video games. And I think like I think overall they did a decent job in terms of like the pacing of the story. There might be some work needed towards that. I do have like a few notes when it comes to that. There were just like some, I guess, like parts of the film where it just felt like it was just dragging, but then there were other parts there where it just felt like it was rushed, or like there wasn't like enough backstory, or there wasn't enough context for us to kind of like digest and understand like, oh, why did that happen? Why did it suddenly happen? But yeah, I feel like overall it's a good start for what's to come when it comes to the Super Mario Brothers franchise.
Alrighty, cool. So, the movie itself starts with the penguins that we saw in the teaser trailer, but we can kind of skip over that. We can double back around to Bowser once we get to the Mushroom Kingdom stuff.
I got a funny story for you, real quick.
Okay, sure.
So it's funny. A friend of mine, we had kind of a ticket kerfuffle with one of our friends. So a big group, and they kind of like, basically my friends are all not specifically Super Nintendo. In general, they are very, very prominent Nintendo fan. They really like Nintendo. Okay. The point being, big supporters of Nintendo. They a few of them were stragglers in getting there, traffic and stuff. So I basically had one of my friends had to run out the tickets to the other guys, and he's like, just tell me what happens. So so when he comes back, and I'm whispering, yeah, it's pretty much the first two trailers. Just look the ad.
Right, yeah.
So he really lucked out on me. He really lucked out when he had to run. I was like, oh, thank goodness, he only missed like just basically
it's literally the penguins and then the Mario Brothers commercial.
That and they're struggling plumbers. That's all I really had to tell.
That being said, one of my favorite Easter eggs in the whole damn movie happens right off the top, and that is Jumpman. I lost my shit at Jumpman.
Okay, now to the novice like myself, when you say Jumpman, you mean the proto Mario, right?
Yes, the proto. Like it blew my mind that they actually have a fully designed character called Jumpman.
Well, the way they approached that guy was brilliant in all aspects. Because one of the biggest criticism this movie had and was always going up against, it was almost the equivalent of a Michael Keaton can't play Batman sort of thing. An equivalent, one could say, of like, are you nuts, Mr. Mom Pratt as Mario? Really?
Dude, get Pratt on a Mr. Mom reboot. I could actually see that.
Okay. Regardless, it's just that we do this. We've set up this Super Mario Brothers plumbing commercial, and now looking back, and it's like, man, we didn't hear Mario for a reason, and now we know why. There was basically this great way of calling out, like, okay, we're going to do the full-on, like Italian Mario, full-on thick Mario Italian accent. And then we're going to have like Charles Martinet himself as Jumpman, the pro Mario, saying like, no, I think for the showmanship, for the commercial of it all, it was good.
Yeah, that's a goal.
Yeah, he liked it. So it's just a great way of just calling out. Like, they kept saying they had an explanation. It's really nice to see. Okay, they actually did have like good reason.
I thought it was a really solid explanation. I really did.
So I think it was brilliant on all steps there. Honestly, I think the biggest success this movie had in terms of the characterization of Mario was, I kind of got I had very little expectations for this movie, and I got it all right up front. Okay. I got all right up front because I wanted to see Mario as a plumber. I wanted to get that out. I know it sounds silly, but I wanted to see. We have Mario always doing these things. We always say, when I was a kid and I see Mario, I say, what is he? What does he do? He says, oh, he's a plumber. He's a plumber, really? So we see
plumber alert.
Here's the thing: we set up that they are essentially they're brothers, they're plumbers, and they're really good at what they do with the plumbing, and they are Mario's a tough guy, and he basically for everything that he goes through, so he has a New Yorker can-do spirit. So we establish all of that right up front, and I really appreciated that, and I invested in Mario, and I felt for him in a situation. We represent him very authentically, a big Italian family. He's kind of going. I think the idea is he was going outside of a construction business. I think is the idea, construction work. And yeah, so it's
considering the Wrecking Crew connection, which is another video game reference that Mario Mario actually was one as a character in Wrecking Crew.
Cool. So that's the thing. I like that we had the tension with the father, who was also Charles Martinet, which is really clever as well. So yeah, it was.
I love that I recognize Charles Martinet's voice enough to like, as soon as I hear him, even if he's not doing the Mario thing at all, I'm like, there he is.
That's the thing.
I just thought during that scene was kind of funny and also funny, kind of ironic that Mario does not like mushrooms.
Yeah, it's a great setup as well. Yeah, so it's like we hit all the founding principles right out the bat in a really entertaining way. We had the deep cut. We have some deep cuts like left and right here. With the the '80s commercial, and then as you said, like I think it's like a Punch Out Pizzeria or something.
Punch Out Pizzeria, yes.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. They're Italian plumbers. They're good at their jobs, and they're tough like most New Yorkers. So all that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I felt the whole I love the father's point too, but you're dragging your brother down with you, and there's some guilt over Luigi there, and of course that kind of re-emphasizes why Mario absolutely has to save his brother, because he feels responsible for his brother, because he kind of tags him along, and that Tiki is why I'm not perturbed by necessarily not doing a lot with Luigi, at the very least in the first movie, because Luigi, especially in the beginnings of a Mario movie, at the beginning it was mostly Mario, and then Luigi came into the fray. And even when doing so, Luigi is kind of an accessory. He's kind of like initially at least, he's basically the tall Mario, and we kind of call that out in that sense. But we feel for Luigi. We want Mario to save Luigi, so that makes us want more Luigi, which hopefully would pay off in more Luigi stuff.
Dude, so many people want a Luigi's Mansion movie, straight up. That is like, I don't know. You know what my dumb deep cut, like, if they did a movie that was basically the Guardians of the Galaxy of the Nintendo universe, I would want just a straight up Punch Out movie set in this Brooklyn.
I have here, real quick. What if they did a Halloween special that is Luigi's Mansion?
Oh, dude. Oh,
like a 20 to 30 minute little
Illumination. That's free money.
Right? Yeah. So so that's what I'm saying. Like, I like that we like Luigi. We invest in him. I did call this two things. Okay, one, my buddies had an Easter egg. They were so jazzed out of their mind about it. I heard them whispering about it during the movie. Luigi's phone rang. It's like the game. His parents like the game.
It's the GameCube theme. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is like
yeah.
And the other thing that dog, the scene with the dog.
Okay, can we just talk about how fucking well animated that dog is? The expressions.
Francis was great.
I honestly think he kind of stole the movie a little bit, which is weird because he is like one of the very few things from this movie that is like has nothing to do with the original games.
Couple things with the dog. Okay, one, you get a sense that they kind of were testing out the dog animation with the Grinch, and they kind of paid off there. Then progressively build into good dog animation because obviously, we have we start off with Kevin from Despicable Me, and then we get Sing, and then we get the Grinch, and now we're at the dog.
Well, you're kind of skipping The Secret Life of Pets.
Oh, right. Sorry, you're right.
which is silly. The entire cast is basically dogs.
So there you go.
Most of them. Yeah.
Anyway, but I'm convinced. I'm utterly convinced.
I mean, Francis Cavey kind of looked like he stepped out of The Secret Life of Pets.
Sure. So I'm convinced the dog scene was an Illumination mandate. Guys, we're going to break our style. We're going to go full Mario. We're going to do it upright. But there's one thing we got to do, though. There's one proviso in the contract, okay? We have to have a very like by the numbers, and not in a bad way, just like, per the fare of an Illuminations movie. Usually we have a sequence that is like, it's a fun little sequence you could technically take out of the movie, but it's like, well, we need something to go wrong. We're seeing like this fun little sequence with a dog could be almost a short film in itself. Feels very Illumination. Each Illumination movie, almost all Illumination movies have that kind of moment where they have like a little short filmy segment within the film.
Honestly, the Minions movies are pretty much nothing but that.
Well, that's what I mean. So that's my main example for that. But yeah, so it feels like we can do a little homage to that. The video was entertaining though.
Right. Chris, I'm sorry. We're kind of when we do this deep dive stuff, you kind of if you have stuff to say about the Brooklyn stuff, by all means.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like he like the dog was like being mentioned. I was like too distracted with the fact that. Like the animation or at least like the visual effects were just like really brilliant and like really spot on. I don't know why. I remember when I was like watching that film, and then during that scene, I was kind of like fixated on the fact that like Mario and Luigi's caps, they're like very well animated. Like you can actually see like the fabric there. So I was like kind of like distracted with that fact. But it did kind of feel like, like that whole dog scene was just like, at least to me, it was a bit dragging, if you will, for like the movie. It was kind of like, okay, maybe let's just try to put like a dog scene in there just to like, kind of like make the movie a bit longer without it really having anything to do with like the storyline. So
that's valid. That's valid. For me, like I said, I think the main thing for me was just the actual animation of the dog and just how territorial it was. I don't know.
He just stepped on Luigi accidentally stepped on the bone, and then basically death to you both.
And then I love the payoff too. I love the payoff, just the stoic acknowledgement. Like, yeah, I see you this time.
Oh, God.
And honestly, my theory on that dog is it was kind of a test run for the Duck Hunt dog. I really hope we get the Duck Hunt dog in a future movie.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Yeah.
And we had to.
Yeah, that's the thing. I kind of feel like the expressions that's why I'm saying it was kind of a test run, because I could just imagine the character expressions they could have on an Illuminations Duck Hunt dog. And that's kind of why I want a full Brooklyn set Punch Out movie, is because you could throw in like the obscure ass references like the Duck Hunt dog and Rob the Robot. Like Rob the Robot in a boxing movie like Rocky 5 or Rocky 4, but it's actually like a serious tone. I don't know. That just sticks out to me. Anyways. So I do want to note one thing. Chris, I'm curious to get your take on this. The song choices. Now, I'm of two minds with this. Like, first of all, I think it kind of goes without saying the orchestration in this is amazing. Like the actual
Brian Tyler score.
Right.
Yeah, hearing the actual compositions and like, I mean, it's like that. It's a big part of the wish fulfillment for me.
I was listening intently to figure out, like, okay, where's that from? Which one is that?
But Chris, what do you think of like the pop songs? Because like for me, when I first saw the film, I was very put off by them. But somebody made a point that they did not use anything that was like modern. It was all like 80s and 90s. And I'm like, okay, like I kind of wish some of the choices weren't like, I feel like stuff like Mr. Blue Sky and I Need a Hero, a little bit overplayed. Yeah, that is because I am thinking of, you know, like other big franchise movies that have used it in the past recently. But I don't know. What do you think of just that general thing, Chris? Like how they handled that?
Yeah, I actually thought that it was kind of like it. I mean, it was kind of like paying homage to like the era in which Super Mario Brothers was invented. I think, at least to me, that's how I kind of like interpreted that. Like the reasoning why they use like those like new wave 80s songs was because like, oh yeah, because like that's what you would associate 80s with that music, Super Mario Brothers. Like it was during that time. But it also kind of like felt to me a bit more into like the marketing side of things, where it's like, okay, like we know like in this modern times, like, you know, the whole 80s vintage thing it's kind of like a trend in itself. And so maybe it's like trying to also playing into that whole 80s like nostalgia feeling. I don't know. At least like, to me personally, I'm kind of like biased because like I personally like 80s music, so
That's totally fair. Yeah,
I didn't mind like having like the Take on Me, the I Need a Hero kind of thing, because it was actually mixed with like the actual like Super Mario themes. And then like we have like that like I guess like original song by Jack Black, which is like I personally felt like it was brilliant for them to actually utilize Jack Black's talents right then and there with that whole Peach song. I thought
we can let's put a pin in
genius.
the Jack Black stuff for but yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Dragon, what did you think of the song choices? I know Jacob generally didn't mind them because Jacob, you and I talked about it off air. But Dragon, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, the songs themselves are good in terms of their usage. I mean, look, if I had to really like, if I overthink it, it's like, you know, did we need like Take on Me when we're just riding around like the Donkey Kong country? Well, not, you know, like the Kong. What do we call this place? Kong's Kingdom.
Kingdom of Kong, basically.
Kingdom of Kong.
Literally in this movie, it's just called the Jungle Kingdom.
Yeah.
The point being, okay, did we necessarily need Take on Me? Well, in that scene specifically, I mean, it feels like the songs are good. Maybe in retrospect, maybe some of them could have been placed a little differently. But again, it's like, for example, I always thought it'd be hilarious with Thunderstruck is that if Thunderstruck you could make the argument you could sound enough like Jack Black sing it, that'd be really funny. You know? Like if they were playing during a Bowser scene. But I don't know. I love Mr. Blue Sky. That's one of I adore that song. So I'm all for using it. Admittedly, you know, I think Megamind probably used it best, but you know, it's still, you know, it's a nice ending. I like it.
And a funny thing for like the Take on Me segment specifically, like people have like found like a missing soundtrack like pretty much lines up with that scene. Like there's actually a scene, there's actually a song like an orchestral score that was composed specifically for that scene before they switched it out for Take on Me.
And it was all Donkey Kong Country music. It was like a remix of Donkey Kong Country.
See, that to me honestly, of all the songs, that one specifically feels like, that one was just like we threw a song into the rest of it.
I honestly feel like Take on Me would have fit Rainbow Road better.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. I guess that's pretty much the only thing. Once I heard that, I was like, why didn't they go that? That's like amazing. But like,
Okay, so Mushroom Kingdom, here we come.
Yes, the Mushroom Game. So the premise, pretty straightforward, like the games. It's like the brothers. They end up in the kingdom. They get separated.
It's also borderline exactly like how it happens in the live action movie, and there's actually quite a few things that they pull from the live action movie.
I know. I liked how we refurbished it 30 years later. We actually made it work. You gotta remember that movie again. It didn't have a prayer. Let's be honest, because how you translate into live action first and foremost. But let's just say, even so, that movie did have a lot of meddling, a lot of script changes, and there at least was something salient to what this was in concept, and then a lot of things just made let's go all sci-fi with it. It's let's do that. No, let's go the actual make it like the game, for example. I don't know, But we kind of used we did the dimensional thing with the warp pipe, and that actually worked out really well here.
I mean, that is originally how it was explained.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was originally how it was explained, but it just didn't quite,
And one speaking of musical touches, I like how when they're going down go down to the sewers to find the pipe, you can actually hear the 1-2 theme.
Mm-hmm. Plus, the interesting thing is that we don't really explain how that warp pipe thing really works, and we don't need it to, though.
We don't need to explain anything in this world. And that is the big thing that this movie has over the live action movie. Floating blocks that give you power-ups that you eat. Fuck it. Why not?
That
Why? Who knows?
All right, okay, just one moment.
Sorry. Go ahead.
So, just again, the pipe, you're right. The pipe is a thing where it's that's I'm not saying we need a miracle exception or anything, but I like the pipe is an example of something that, okay, just this happens and it connects the two worlds, and why is it there? It's pipes in the city, how it works, how that's a thing. You don't really need to know that far. All you need is to go down into a pipe and they get sucked in there. Okay, now I think everything else fits in that logic. The only thing that is a gimme, it's not a bad gimme, it's not a real mark against the movie, but it's one thing you have to admit. It's overall, it's that's in there purely because of the game. Why are there floating little little power blocks everywhere? Okay, that one's purely just for the,
but it's so integrated into the design of the world and the function of the city and everything. I thought they handled it about as well as they could have.
No, that's what I'm saying to you. They did. I'm just saying that's the one thing where I think the best they could do with it, which they did, is that it seems that the power up bricks are there only. There's something you put into an arena, a training thing. So it's they're installed. So at least we only saw it in 2 locations primarily, and everything else was made a little bit of sense. They put this way, the mushrooms. Okay, it's a naturally grown thing in the Mushroom Kingdom. The flowers grow. Stuff. Here's the things that don't track. Okay, these are things purely aesthetic. You have to put in there. Okay, a cat suit and the raccoon. I know it's an actual the Japanese name for the raccoon suit. The
Tanuki suit.
Yes, the Tanuki suit. So those things, okay, that one's purely that one's something they actually have to cram in that little box thing. Okay, that's something that's purely a game thing. There's no way of rationalizing that one.
Yeah, I hear you.
That's not a problem at all. I'm just saying it's the one thing, the one gimme. Everything else, we don't need to worry about it.
Okay, so in regards to, I totally don't mind, obviously we saw in the trailer Mario and Luigi were going to get split up and everything. Dragon New Dude raised a good point about Luigi is a little bit of a blank slate, but
he does get sidelined here, but again, that's kind of the point early on. That is kind of the point.
He's basically the Princess Peach of this movie.
Yeah. Importantly, though, again, it makes a lot more sense. Hey, princess that Mario's never met before, or his beloved brother. And here's the trippiest thing about this movie in comparison to the movie 30 years ago. Okay, in some bizarre sense, it is a weird correlation, but in some bizarre sense, just because of the brotherly dynamic and just who we had in that movie, little Eddie Valiant going on there, little Roger Rabbit, Eddie Valiant with the Bob Hoskins factor.
What do you mean? How so?
Well, I just mean the fact that we kind of set up a nice brotherly bond, and it does mean, especially in the third act, when they're kind of remembering why they're starting a business, and they're struck out on their own, and that's the fact there's a brotherly bond. They're very city bound kind of guys. I don't know. the Valiant Brothers, Mario Brothers. The fact that we have Bob.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah, I'm just saying there's like a nice heart
I see
to
what
it
you're
that is
saying.
echoing, not a direct connection. Obviously, just the fact we have Bob Hoskins. There's something kind of nice there.
Theme Park Priest, Yoshi is in this movie literally at the very end of the post credits.
And we have Yoshis.
We have Yoshis, but no
Yeah.
green ones. And the post credit scene is specifically a green Yoshi egg about to hatch.
In New York.
Yeah.
But the herd of Yoshis was a great sight to see.
Yeah, it's always a great sight to see. Just essentially like green horse-looking things wearing shoes.
Multicolored horse looking things.
Not just green. The most
You're
famous,
right, fine. Multicolored, but in general, the Yoshi. Yeah.
the most famous Yoshi is green.
Oh.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. We shouldn't bury the lead any longer. Let's talk about how glorious Jack Black is in this movie, because we all knew he was going to be great, but like, holy crap, they were really saving the best stuff for the actual movie.
They were. Oh, I loved Bowser. It's like he perfectly captures like the menace and the humor and basically the love-struck idiot that Bowser is.
I feel like Bowser is absolutely the side of the movie that leans into kind of like the Mario and Luigi kind of Paper Mario kind of characterizations. The rest are pretty much blank slate, but this is easily, it feels like kind of like a 1-for-1 almost with how he's characterized.
I mean, the whole Star thing is basically from Mario Galaxy, and his plus with Peach is like almost is basically, as you said, rich from the Paper Mario games.
And then the weddings from Odyssey.
And but they straight up brought in his suit and hat.
Yeah.
I was like, I said I was like giggling and like smiling like an idiot the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
But like when I saw that, I was like, that's from Odyssey.
Yep. No Cappy though, not yet.
No, not yet, but probably soon though. Hopefully.
Let's see. So, okay, the Peaches song. I mean,
Peaches.
holy crap! Hey, internet, here's something that will just be stuck in your head forever. You're welcome. It literally has not left my head since I saw the movie.
I love that the piano he's playing on is called a Ludwig von Koopa. Like that's one of the Koopalings. I was like, Basically, a lot of me watching the movie, I was like, look at that! Oh, look at that! That's so cool! Look at that! Sorry.
Much.
But yeah, like when we started playing that, and immediately the switch from like when Comic came to talk to him, it was just like, dang! It's like he can switch from like being this love struck, singing this power ballad, singing this power ballad to Peach, and then like basically just slamming Kamek's fingers in the piano. I was like, no, stay there. Pain.
That was so. I love the menacing touch of like he played the piano with me. Just
yeah.
That was okay. So against the dichotomy of Bowser is wonderful. And I want you guys to answer this for me. So has he always been love struck when he kidnapped the princess, or is that always the plan, or is that games, or is that like a later development, or is that a fusion of Donkey Kong, or what?
I mean, in the earliest games, that wasn't his plan, but it kind of became a thing. Like once they started like developing the stories more.
Once the Mario RPGs started to hit and he actually got dialogue, I think that's where it really started to.
So it didn't. Just to be clear, it didn't come out of left field or anything. It was a thing that.
No. It's a very established thing in the games. It's just I would say probably around the time of Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga is where that's where I first remember that kind of characterization like really coming into focus.
But the whole kidnapping Peach for various reasons. I mean, earlier like it's not really established why, other than the fact that he was basically it's like a dragon kidnapping a princess.
Right, yeah.
But like and then like once like the game started like going 3D and like even in like Mario RPG and Superstar Saga. I mean,
I never played Mario RPG, so I don't know how he's characterized there.
I mean, he does actually help them, so he's kind of like more of like an anti-hero in that one.
Okay.
I mean, I actually haven't played it, but I've seen it played through, and like, and even in Paper Mario, it was like he was just that was more like. I mean, it came like more in 3D when it was like implied that he was actually in love with Peach, and like, and it was especially brought to its head in something like Mario Odyssey, as we mentioned.
Yeah, Dragon, literally the latest Mario game, the whole wedding thing is like pretty much the entire Bowser plot.
And even, I mean, it's not the first time it's happened. I mean, it almost did happen in Super Paper Mario, so it's not like it didn't have any precedent even there.
So yes, very established thing.
Anyway, so one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie with Bowser is when he's interrogating Luigi, and I love that there's been this build-up. I just love it. He's kind of being a little cordial to him, and he's just like, so I heard there's another mustachioed fellow, kind of going around here, and he plucks the mustache hair. And I love that he's just so insecure about Peach falling for the other guy, and I love that he's like, yeah,
is the princess into him?
Yes.
That's just like classic Jack Black, man.
and Charlie Day just doing such a great job as Luigi, making him charming in the way that Charlie Day always has a likability about him and a silliness. So he's kind of like can be broad and comedic, but also like kind of have like a very kind of human kind of quality there. So I love the fact that he's like gives a very honest answer, especially the threat of like ripping the mustache off, where he says like. Well, do you think she'll fall for him? Like if she has good taste, yes. I love him. It's like just saying in such a short. If she has good taste, yes. Just being very complimentary towards his brother. The idea Mario was probably a ladies' man in the neighborhood. I like that.
I mean,
he's got charm.
I mean, that he does.
Anyway, so now the ridiculous plan to impress Princess Peach, essentially in some way, in some form, using the star as like an engagement ring or a engagement proposal, offering a dowry of some kind, and just the fact that he's like, and if she says no, then I'll destroy the Mushroom Kingdom with it.
It's like, well, at least he has a backup plan.
Yeah. Also, I love seeing him practice with what is it, Common the Sorcerer,
Comic.
Comic,
or Kamek. It's K.
Yeah, Kamek is.
Also, by the way, let's give points for points to do here. Get Michael Richardson on the big screen. It's about time.
Very understated, yes, but yeah, it's definitely
the
sure.
king of the Koopas.
Yeah,
I kind of like how you almost gave him like a slight Peter Lorre voice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, very much so. Yeah. Okay, I have Chris. You kind of touched on this a little bit with the plot, and I'm wondering if this is kind of what you meant. Like, probably my biggest issue with the plot is how we rush. Like, it's weirdly like I feel like actually getting Mario together with Peach and Toad is weirdly both rushed and a little dragged out at the same time. Because I feel like it's rushed just in the sense of like, oh, yes, random man that I've never, I'll absolutely help you if you can do this test. But it's also dragged out because it's like, okay, I thought that, like, this is probably my biggest nitpick with the whole movie, honestly. And again, it's more of a note than a nitpick. I really don't even care that much. But, like, Princess Peach is, like, on her way to go to the Donkey Kong world to, team up with the Kong army, which, by the way, I really liked that as a secondary goal. The Kong army thing. I really thought that was a clever way to use the Kongs. But we have that established, and she's all gung-ho and ready to go. But then, okay, we have to spend literally a whole day, like, on this obstacle course that he doesn't even officially finish. And I get the whole perseverance thing. I get that. And we have the whole, like, I don't know, it's just like the dragging the feet with the time. And then once we get on the adventure, like, Toad pops out of nowhere, like, literally, like, I want to be in the movie still. And he's like, okay, sure. I don't know, Chris, like I said, like, was that kind of what you were hinting at as far as, like, some of the weird sort of pacing stuff?
Yeah, that's part of it. I do agree with what you said, like, in terms of like the whole obstacle course thing. I personally felt like the purpose of that was just to like really like demonstrate or at least show to people like, hey, like we're showing like the this is the gameplay of Super Mario, and now we're showing it to you on screen just to like make people feel like, hey, I'm familiar with that. That's the game. That's how it's played. Now we're kind of given like the, you know, like why the game is played the way it is. So it's kind of like being given like a backstory, but also at the same time, yeah, it's like it's weird that he had to like spend the entire night or trying to like finish that obstacle course, which he didn't even finish, and then he just passed. It reminded me of like that scene from Mulan, where Mulan had to like go up that pole kind of thing. I don't know if that was kind of like Illumination's way of like demonstrating that kind of like thing as well. But then yeah, and then Toad suddenly just tagging along, and then Peach was like, okay, yeah, like you can just come along, just so like Toad's just part of like the storyline as well. But I'm really more so referring to more on like the latter part of the film, which is like when they, you know, well, we're jumping ahead with the discussion. When they reach, I mean, like when the worlds kind of like collide and it reaches Brooklyn. So yeah, that's
we can circle back to that. That's fine.
Yeah.
What are Jacob, Dragon? Do you have any thoughts on kind of like the whole like, you know, the adventure starting and everything? I will say one thing that I really did appreciate in the obstacle course section was I thought it was really cool how they could have very easily just not had the power-up mushrooms, you know, and just had Mario be the same height. But no, it's like they look at him grow. Look at him grow. So, Jacob, Dragon, what are your thoughts on that, the obstacle course and everything, kind of setting the stage?
Well, I mean, the cool thing about the obstacle course and also like the Donkey Kong battle is that we found a way to somewhat homage. I mean, not just the game, but I mean, like the Super Mario World and Brothers and all that sort of stuff. But also, it's a little bit of just the original, like kind of Mario Brothers, like kind of you jump up and you hit your head on the thing. So it's a little bit of like the classic. When you're in the pipes and the Mario Brothers thing. It's a little bit of that. I like that there's like I know it's mostly just the other games. I like that we're finding a way to build in like the mechanics of the game, at least in these two sequences, and you kind of found a way to do it kind of as a way of preparing Mario, and because I can imagine it'd be hard to work in like the mystery box thing naturally through the movie. So they kind of found some places to do that, and overall, what I want to say is I love the dynamic and the natural chemistry that the Princess Peach and Mario had. Which, by the way, the voice talent, a lot of people were doubting Chris Pratt. I think Chris Pratt and Anya Taylor-Joy did a really good job.
I think Chris Pratt I think he did perfectly good. Yeah. Perfectly good. I don't think he did amazing. But at the same time, I definitely don't think he would. Like, Seth Rogen self-admits that he was really just not acting. So
we'll get there. We'll get there. I just mean the fact that Pratt made an effort. And he made an effort.
Yeah, absolutely.
He didn't want to. The fact that you see he didn't want to screw up, and I don't think he screwed up. But,
right, and the fact that he also didn't want to like do Charles Martinet throughout the entire movie.
Exactly. So. Anyways, but I love like the natural chemistry where, I mean, it wasn't necessarily like a love at first. It was like an understated love at first sight. They had a moment where they saw each other, but beyond that, it's like, there's like an actual, like, kind of chemistry and build it. The whole like telling her about Brooklyn. Like, I'll get you a pet turtle. Very Rocky-esque, and I like that. another Italian icon.
That's what I'm saying, man. They need to make a Brooklyn set movie and basically make it be like a combination of the silly parts of Rocky and the serious parts of Rocky.
Yeah, sure. I'll admit, something did occur to me though in the movie. Thinking about it, I think we may have used slow mo a little too often at odd times in the movie. We like use more of the like "Mamma Mia." Use that. That's great once, but then we kind of did a few times. It's like
yeah. No, I feel that it was kind of like low hanging fruit as a joke for sure.
So, but yeah, I mean, I love the connection of Princess Peach. We reveal her origin, where she basically came through a warp pipe. May or may not be from, well, if not New York, just from the human world. She may or may not be
She's from Dino Hatton.
Possibly.
Oh my god, dude, if they actually like canonized Dino Hatton in the Illuminations movies, I would just lose it.
Regardless, this point being, we did that. It's kind of nice that we had like we saw how she became Princess of the Mushroom Kingdom and everything's kind of taken in by him and everything. And that's nice. So our setup in getting to the adventure was pretty good and gave him time to bond, and also just I think the important, impressive thing is that Mario, he didn't succeed. Is the fact he put it again. Is the fact that he tried his hardest there and he almost did. And he has the potential. This guy's going to keep getting back up, and I'm impressed.
And technically, the only reason he lost is because he tried to show off.
Yeah.
I can actually kind of relate to that as far as the actual gameplay.
But as for me though, it's like I kind of did like the whole. Did like the obstacle course how it actually kind of looked like it could like be straight from the games in a way. Like
I'll tell you one element about the obstacle course that really I loved, and it's a very small detail, but I love it, and it comes back in the finale, is the way that Mario waves his arms, like basically does the Naruto run. Very much out of the games. Very much out of the game animation.
Oh yeah, well I think it's just the anime run. You mean when the arms are outstretched and they're running
basically,
at full
it's
speed,
more
right?
it's more of a ninja run.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, it's like that. I really love that whole sequence. Like I actually watched. It's not like a TikTok. Yes, I use TikTok. Don't sue me.
Jacob, I'm judging you so fucking harshly right now. No, I'm just kidding.
I know, but some people out there would. But
I know.
But I actually saw one where like somebody recreated the obstacle course in Mario Maker.
Oh my god, I'm not surprised.
Obviously, in more like in a 2D space, since they can't move in 3D in Mario Maker. But they actually did a very 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 good job, and they even synced it up to like filmed footage of the movie.
Jacob, you might know more than I do about this, but I heard that somewhere in the movie 1-1 is just straight up recreated.
Honestly, I wouldn't. I don't know. I don't know. Honestly,
I was kind of thinking it might have been the No Sleep for Brooklyn scene. I don't think so.
I mean, that could be it, but
yeah, I don't know. I was kind of looking for it, but I don't know. Anyways,
I'd have to watch it again to figure it out, and I do plan on watching this again.
I plan on watching this at least 2 more times in theaters. I am definitely. I've got I'm going to Super Nintendo World at the start of the month, so I'm very much planning on seeing this movie right before I leave for that trip. That I'm excited about that, but I'm probably gonna go see it one other time before then as well.
But either way, it's like I just really love how like Mario doesn't get it immediately. Like Peach did, but she points out the fact that she's lived there her whole life and is obviously familiar with that. But Mario, he does a good job, and as Dragon pointed out, it's actually a good thing that he didn't succeed. It shows that Mario is like not perfectly infallible, and like obviously like a lot of people controlling him makes a lot of mistakes here and there. It's like, and it highlights that as the character. It's like, but he never gives up, just like a person with multiple lives going through a level.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that might be reaching a bit, but it just kind of seems like that.
No. That it absolutely is. That whole segment absolutely does replicate the whole the platforming struggle, if you will.
But I also like the rationalization they give, they rationalize you eat the mushroom or the ability, and you get the power. But if you get hit, you lose the power. Right? It's like I really love the rationalization for that. It's like it only works until you get hit.
Let me tell you how I think they could have used Toad that would have been a little bit more justified. And I think it's pretty simple. They should have just made the dude Captain Toad. And they should have had him be the navigator.
That would have been interesting to say.
Yeah, I think that would have been pretty simple. Yeah. I don't know. And I don't mind Toad in the movie. Like, honestly, he has more to do than Luigi does. But, I don't know. I just think there's spots where he feels a little superfluous.
Yeah, like the whole kingdom of Toads, especially outlined, and of course they threw it sorry, Mario, but the princess is in another castle.
I love that. I love that.
That was really funny.
It's just like they had to put that in there somewhere.
Yeah.
I also love the antique store where it's like, is this gonna work? Yeah, just blow on it.
which is actually not a good thing to do.
I know.
But we all did it. We all did it.
Yeah.
I still do it. I still do it with my GBA cards. I can't help it.
Wait, you're not supposed to blow inside the cartridge?
No, they say it's like it causes like particle buildup and like spit and spill can get in there and like kind of like damage the electronics.
How did the blowing into the cartridge thing even start then?
I think it's just natural.
Because I feel like it's something that everyone just does almost like on reflex.
I think it's just an instinctual thing.
Well, how else are you supposed to clean it?
Yeah.
They say like with a cotton swab.
Yeah. Well, that's no fun. I will say Toe Town in general, I
was imagining that scene in Lightyear where they homage like the game cartridge thing, where it's like he has to blow into it to get the clean read. He's like, okay, I'm in a deadly situation right now. Let me grab my cotton swab.
I mean, Dragon, for the record, I've never had a video game cartridge actually break on me, and I habitually do the blowing, even though I have heard that it's bad. So I don't know how much it actually affects it.
We're not game doctors.
No, Dr. Mario.
This podcast just suddenly turned into a Mythbusters episode.
Someone put on a beret.
Well, I mean, I think it's more like a gradual damage over time thing rather than instant damage. But
Yeah.
But they say it's like generally not a good idea.
Sure.
I mean,
So put on the box.
But either way, yeah. So.
But the overall design of Toe Town, I thought, was incredible. Chris, if you like I said, you went to Nintendo World, so like, was the Toe Town stuff like? Did you have any sort of like, oh, I am back in Nintendo World, or was it a little bit more like well built up?
Yeah, I mean, it pretty much looked. It's funny because like the animation and like the graphics and the design of the movie, it's extremely similar to the aesthetics of the Super Nintendo world. So it does feel like as if like you're actually in the game, if you will, when you're visiting that. So yeah, so I think that's it.
Okay. So we get a montage of different locations, which I thought was fine. The one thing I will say, seeing the Yoshis was cool. I do wonder, other people have made this point, like, did it diminish the post-credit scene just a little bit?
I mean, in defense of it, we didn't see a green Yoshi, but
that's true.
By the same token, it's like it feels like in lieu of the Yoshis, and you guys can tell me if this would have made sense. It sounds like they're probably saving this just so they can have something for the other movie. It's a little different than the Koopas. Don't we need like the Goombas, little mushroom-looking guys?
Yeah, the Goombas are typically the little mushroom guys. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. They weren't in this movie, at least not probably.
No, they were.
They were.
They just weren't used very much.
That's what I'm saying. They weren't used very much. I feel like we could have got more Goomba in exchange for the Yoshis.
It kind of would have also paid off. Mario's like, I hate mushrooms.
There you go. That's what I'm saying. True. Yeah. It feels like we kind of skimped out on the Goombas. They were there, but they were gathered on the side of the plate.
One thing I will say, with the different enemies, I do like how we had different, like, it kind of felt almost Star Wars-esque. Like, weirdly, the Shy Guys kind of felt like Jawas a little bit. Like, kind of nomadic, which I liked. Dry Bones. That was one of the Easter eggs, and it wasn't even really an Easter egg. It was just kind of like, because in Dry Bones first appeared in Super Mario World, and when you jump on him, he turns into the pile of bones, and then he creepily gets back up. But seeing that fully realized in animation and done in like a legitimately kind of creepy way. Oh, that was, like Jacob was saying, that was another like kind of dumb grin on my face kind of moment for me.
Yeah, I mean, especially since a lot of they all start chasing after Luigi. That'd be terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the Kongs. First of all, what do y'all think of Fred Armistad? Because I honestly didn't mind his voice. I really didn't, but people are generally saying that it's one of the weaker voices for Cranky Kong.
I mean, I gotta be honest. With both the voices of Donkey Kong and Cranky Kong, I'm not really standing much ceremony here. I think what we have works, but long term, I feel we should have gone. I think we should have gone with the. First, I'm sorry. Let me put it this way. Seth Rogen, he works in the movie, but I think looking at something like spin-off potential, especially with Donkey Kong, it feels like we have a guy who's like admittedly kind of phoning it. It's like it's basically. I love Seth Rogen. I love the dialogue we give Seth Rogen here. I like the banter, the rivalry, all that's great.
And we've seen Seth Rogen act. We've seen Steve Jobs. We've seen the Fablemans.
Yeah, so it just feels, it just doesn't really feel like this is what Donkey Kong should sound like, or at least an attempt like Pratt gave for what
I don't
Donkey
like
Kong
that they drew attention to the laugh.
Well, I mean, that one's just them throwing their hands in the air, like, well, he admittedly is not really. As far as Crank Kong goes, it feels like Fred Armisen. I like that actor, but I'm not crazy about him for this because
It sounds like he's kind of doing like a little bit of a Larry David thing. Did you?
Well,
get
you
that
know what
vibe?
it is. It feels like here's what it reminded me of. I think the first voice we all thought of when we saw this character and we heard him was, and it sounded like for a moment I was processing. Wait a minute, because he was also in another Illumination movie. Did they get him to play Crank Kong? Alan Arkin, which I think would.
Oh yeah, no, it is. It does have an Arkin vibe.
It wasn't. It makes me wonder why didn't we get Alan Arkin?
right.
You know what I'm saying? Because he sounds too young. It sounds like he's Cranky Kong. He's got a big old man beard. That should be Alan Arkin. Darn it! Come on. Even get the son, get Adam Arkin, just for the heck of it, just to say he's in there. I don't know.
What do y'all think of the fact that I'm a little bit mixed on this, especially because it's kind of like a big thing to commit to with the spinoff. What do y'all think of the cart thing with the Donkey Kong world? Like the fact that that's where the carts come from, and the carts are like a big part. Because that dragon, I want to be clear, that was never in the games. The closest that would be to the games is Diddy Kong Racing. Which, Jacob, correct me if I'm wrong, Diddy Kong Racing wasn't even designed to have Diddy Kong in it until very late on, right? It was originally the tiger was originally the main character, I think.
I honestly wouldn't know anything about that one.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm pretty sure that was the case. So, yeah, what do y'all think of that? Like, I think visually it looks really cool. I just think it's a little bit of like it's a really big world building thing to commit to, like I said.
Let me ask you this. Did we ever explain where the Mario Karts came from in the Mario Kart game?
No.
So,
no, not at all.
So what does it hurt exactly?
I'm just saying it doesn't hurt anything. I'm just saying it's like you are committing to like, to the carts basically being a main focus. I'm saying it works for this movie as a standalone movie, but since we do know that it's going to be very likely, if not already confirmed, that Donkey Kong Country is going to be one of the oh shoot, now I'm having the thing that Dragon usually has with the sirens. I'm sorry. Did someone want to... Chris, what do you think about the carts? I need to mute myself. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know that the origin of like where the carts came from was never explained in the video game. So I just assumed when I was like watching the film, I was like, oh, okay, so that's where it came from. But yeah, maybe like for me, I expected it to come from or at least to originate from like somewhere else, not from like the Donkey Kong world. So I guess maybe this is just like their way of like addressing that or like adding some sort of backstory. So at least it kind of like gives some explanation or context for us. So
I mean, when I think Donkey Kong, I'm thinking of like the minecart sequences, in
right.
Donkey Kong. So I mean, in that, I think that might be their middle ground of like we can't always have a minecart handy. So what we're gonna have instead? Well, they have like kind of.
Well, they better have minecarts handy in that movie, though.
Well, I'm not. Yeah, I guess what I'm saying, Tiki, is like, okay, unless you want to add in a very expensive minecart sequence in this movie,
sure.
Our solution will be the carts, and I don't know if we're gonna do a minecart setting with the car instead. I don't know that, but at the very least for this movie, it seems like that was their solution to it. Also, it makes the Kongs formidable that they can build go-karts.
I love how they added like the customization option.
That's the best part.
Yes,
oh yeah,
yes.
It's like ripped straight out of the like Mario Kart 8 specifically.
You got them at the Kongs. They do nice body work.
Very nice body. I was like, even when I did the card and then they did like when the paraglide pod, I was like, that's the Mario Kart.
The paraglide was very much like a Leonardo DiCaprio points moment for me.
What do you think of the giant, of Toad's giant monster truck vehicle? What do you think about that?
I don't know. I thought it was cute.
I love how it's like definitely ended up being very impractical.
Right.
I like that they each had a cool design. I love that Mario's looking really nice. He's I like there was
Mario's got the classic Mario Kart. Peach has the bike, which honestly, Jacob, I don't know if you feel the same way. For me, once they introduced bikes, especially in 8, I can't go back to the regular kart. I just can't.
I usually go for bikes too, especially when I'm racing, especially when I'm using a lighter character.
You forsaked the kart, Tiki?
Yeah, yes, I do.
But Tiki, it's called Mario Kart. You forsake the kart.
Well, maybe they should call it Mario Bike next time, Dragon.
Yeah, because Dragon, the game was totally called Mario Kart and Bike.
You have no honor, Tiki.
Oh God!
Dragon,
like a big.
Dragon, have you played any of the games where they introduced the bikes?
No, I haven't actually.
Well, there you go.
I have spoken.
I knew you were gonna say that. I was waiting for it, and you said it.
Oh my God!
Well, I mean, you don't have any room to talk. You don't have any room to speak.
I'm being silly, but yes.
So, this movie during the tournament, whatever the hell it is, the Mario versus Donkey Kong thing, which by the way, I do like that they have the rivalry there, and it does feel like that's probably my favorite part of Donkey Kong is just his his dynamic with Mario and how the two of them have friction, but ultimately begrudgingly respect each other. That is perfect. That is Mario and Donkey Kong's characterization to a T.
They both have daddy issues.
Right. But I genuinely got hit with a 1-2 punch with the when they're introducing DK. So first of all, DK rap. I mean, it's low hanging fruit, but it's delicious low hanging fruit, and I grinning idiot. Absolutely. I was probably like dancing along. But then the 1-2 punch is that means you, Diddy Kong. And Diddy Kong, hands down, the hardest laugh in the movie for me. Hands down. I lost it. Not just because it is Diddy Kong. It wasn't just an I know who that is moment. It was the perfect use of Diddy Kong.
Did he have the Nintendo hat? I couldn't tell.
I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. I think he just had the star hat.
I know he had the hat, but I couldn't tell if it said Nintendo. But and I love the fact that Dixie and Kitty were sitting next to him.
Yeah. So it's like
even though Kitty kind of sucks.
Kitty sucks, but this movie's good. The Donkey Kong Country is going to legitimize him.
Yeah.
And Nick Kroll is Kitty. I'm calling it right now. Nick Kroll is Kitty.
That would be funny.
Clarify this for me. Is Cranky Kong Donkey Kong's father?
Yes.
Okay, that's cool.
In the lore of the video games, and I don't think they're committing to this in the movie, and that's fine, but in the lore of the video games, Cranky Kong is the original Donkey Kong from
the game. I heard that. That's why I thought that's what I heard somewhere about. I just want to make sure. Okay.
Actually, technically...
And that means Donkey Kong that from Country is the grandson.
Right, because I was going to say Donkey Kong Jr. would then be the son. Yeah. But I think in this movie, they just simplified it. They cut out the middleman with Donkey Kong Jr. No one likes Donkey Kong Jr.
I love this setup. I only have one issue with it. It's a very simple fix I think they could have made. I don't think I missed anything, but you guys tell me. We needed ladders in this scene, right?
Who? What? Ladders?
Yeah, ladders.
For Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
The original Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm just saying, it feels like I don't think there are any ladders in here. It feels like a very simple. How did they not put the ladders in?
Yeah,
Because like we throw in the barrels, it's them mounted monitors, it's like a bunch of platforms. It's like I'm not saying to do like exactly one for one doggone the bare minimum. We should have ladders.
Maybe they just didn't want the ladders to mess up the world building of the platforms, like the floating platforms. I don't know.
Anyway.
So I will say the whole thing with like the Rainbow Road being a shortcut to Bowser, it's cool. Like visually it's cool, and it's a nice way to, very quickly get into our third act. Did it feel a little bit convenient to you guys though? Just a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Well, let me ask you this: so Bowser's, so basically, is the Rainbow Bridge a shortcut to the Darklands, or is it specifically a shortcut to like Bowser's floating castle?
In the actual games, it's just a road. It is just
there's literally no connection. I don't even think the Rainbow.
No. I don't mean in the games. I mean in the movie. In the movie.
That's the thing. Do they even make it clear? That's kind of that's kind of my problem with it. Is I feel like it was one of the few bits of world building that wasn't really that well explained.
I think it was more like a way to quickly get back to the Mushroom Kingdom or something, but I don't really remember.
I mean, that might make Tiki. That actually might make sense. That might be it. Maybe it's less fighting Bowser. It's more just actually, wait a minute. When everything went belly up, then they were heading back to the Mushroom Kingdom. That was after they couldn't get across the Rainbow Bridge. So I think they were actually heading to Bowser.
That's true. They're
taking the army to Bowser. So we still don't know where, if they were doing like the floating castle, or if they were going to the Darklands. Mm-hmm. Mario did find out that Luigi was going to the Darklands. I'm thinking they were heading to the Darklands. That's what I think was happening. I don't think they knew that Bowser was heading their way. At least not the floating castle thing anyway.
So blue shell, yay! I know what that is.
Like I remember when I was like waiting for the blue shell to pop. I was like, okay, where's the card? There's the cards. Where's the blue shell? And then the one that's been chasing him in the big vehicle. And when they started flying, I was like, oh no, it's the blue shell. I was like, and the hype up that's actually really devastating.
The blue shell is literally the low of lows in this movie.
Yeah, just like you're in Mario Kart, you're up first, you're close to winning, and then just before you're about to hit the finish line, blue shell.
Blue shell of death.
Basically, yes.
I love that they basically made the blue shell its own character.
That's great.
He had something to prove, that blue shell. Did he kamikaze himself?
I think so. He doesn't show up in the movie again, does he?
I don't think so.
That's pretty bold. He kamikazed himself. I'm gonna get that Mario.
Maybe it's just a special ability he has. I don't know.
Nah, I think it's more dramatic if he dies.
Yeah,
I would have killed all the other Koopas. Maybe here's actually what it is. Okay, he does his sacrificial, but then he's like a skeleton. He's little skeleton Koopa.
Dry bones. They're called dry bones.
I'm sorry, dry bones. He becomes dry bones.
Respect the Lord, dragon.
I'm sorry, Lord didn't have name tags that lasted decades.
Right. I could see him coming back as a dry bones, though. That's a really good call.
There you go. All right.
Of course, that leads to Donkey Kong and Mario falling down into the ocean, leading to another callback.
I love Mario saving Donkey Kong, by the way, and I love he's indebted to him.
Yeah, that is good. That was one of the better character beats for Mario, I thought, was him kind of like going out of his way to save Donkey Kong, even though they were rivals.
Right,
very simple, but very noble.
Then they have some Pinocchio bonding time in like the ball ray.
Yeah, it's basically a cross between Pinocchio and Donkey Kong Country Returns.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Dragon! Do you know about this eel?
Well, I mean, I know it's basically like the moray eel, right?
Yes, but do you know how infamous it is?
Well, all I remember is Mario has this thing with fish, and we had that gag earlier where the fish keep like kissing him on the face and stuff. Like
he doesn't know. He doesn't know, Jacob.
Oh yeah, he doesn't.
What's okay? So I remember. Okay, so Mario does go in the water.
There's a giant, terrifying eel in Mario 64.
Okay,
and it caused so much collective childhood trauma with like literally everybody who played it.
Unfortunately, I played it as an adult, but I first played Mario 64 as like kind of like a late teenager, as on the DS, and the actual version is like an adult. But it's like so
there are legitimately a lot of people that grew up with that game who now have a fear of the open ocean because of that damn eel,
and also pianos.
Yes. Oh God.
Okay, wait. When you say pianos, do you mean it's like the gag of like it's like the Jaws theme?
No, it's like there's a seemingly innocent piano in one of the haunted house levels in Mario 64. It suddenly sprouts teeth and starts chasing after Mario.
It's a legit jump scare, Dragon.
Nintendo can be terrifying.
That piano better be in whatever the hell they do for Luigi's Mansion when they get to that.
So essentially, the eel traumatized people.
Yeah, Dragon. Yes, it did.
They made it even more terrifying in this movie. Whereas everything else is like kind of like this, usual Nintendo cartoonish look. That eel looks straight up realistic.
It basically looks like kaiju or something.
But yeah, seriously, for those of you that didn't know before, Nintendo can be terrifying. Basically, it lulls you in with its bright colors, fun gameplay, and then boom.
Yeah. When we get to the Zelda movie, which I'm sure is going to happen, that there's a lot of dark material they can mine from that series.
Yeah, people like think Nintendo is like, oh, it's just family friendly, and then a lot of mature themes in some of those, especially some of the Zelda games.
I mean, even Mario Galaxy has some really mature themes when you really break that story down. The Rosalina stuff specifically.
Oh yeah, that stuff is like chilling. Which that is kind of like the logical next step. I mean, they even mentioned galaxies in this.
Oh, we'll get there, Jacob. We'll get there. Put a pin in that.
All right.
Okay. Let's see. Anything else we have to talk through before we get to the Brooklyn stuff?
Well, Tiki, there was a wedding.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
My favorite cameo in the wedding was King Bob-omb. I love how we delighted to see King Bob-omb.
We lit the fuse.
That was great.
I love the big ghost. I love seeing that big ghost.
King Boo.
Yeah.
Lord Dragon. I'm kidding.
That looks like just a regular Boo. I didn't see a crown on his head.
Oh, was it just a regular? Because aren't regular Boos just small, though? I thought that was the distinction with King Boo. Boo is the really big one.
Yeah, King Boo's a really big one. I mean, like regular King Boos are probably about the size of Mario or Luigi. But I mean, that might have been King Boo, but I just couldn't. No, maybe I'm just more familiar with the King Boo.
So it's probably more Bubba Boo than King Boo. Then
I was kind of assuming it was King Boo just because we had King Bob-omb. I was kind of assuming all the royalty was showing up.
Imagine if they were seated alphabetically.
I mean, you're probably entirely right on that one, Tiki. I guess when I rewatch again, I'll have to see does the Boo have a crown? But because I'm more familiar with the King Boo from Luigi's Mansion, so
that's fair. That's fair.
So it very well could be King Boo. So.
My King Boo is straight up the Mario 64 King Boo. So
was there always an ice flower in the Game Boy Advance games, or was
no, not until that didn't come along until Jacob. Was it 3D Land or the new Super Mario Brothers?
I think it's been a thing since Wii. If I missed it.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Let me actually Google that.
Yeah, Dragon, that definitely wasn't a classic power-up.
That's what I thought. I thought it was something just later stuff.
Flower. Okay, Mario the Ice Flower. Always wanted to let's see, Ice Flower.
That was a really good reference point for Peach too. I really liked her kind of Elsa style design.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Well, again,
apparently as an item, it first appeared in the manga, funnily enough.
Oh, really? Oh, that's weird.
It's first appearance, Super Mario Kun Volume 5, but as far as games goes, it actually has appeared as a Bros item in Mario and Luigi Partners in Time,
Oh, okay.
But in the main platforming games, it did appear first in New Super Mario Brothers Wii.
Ah, you called it. You called it. All right, yeah, that was a good guess because like I've played. I actually think New Super Mario Brothers Wii is the one New Super Mario Brothers game I have not actually played. Come to think of it.
I played that a lot with like some friends, and that game gets very chaotic.
All right. Okay, we have Koski. I am going to go ahead and ignore that username, Koski. That is very sus. He says surprisingly not that bad.
Richard's victims. I'm not ignoring
Tiki, I don't know what you're talking about. Clearly, that's not
Koski.
Clearly, that's not Koski production. This is Richard's Victims right there. I think you're very out of line besmirching the name of this new commenter, Tiki.
Oh my God.
Come on. I just got to draw a line right there, man. I mean, come on. Richard's, he's a new member to our commenter family here. Welcome with open arms. How dare you take a momentary lapse and just drag his new name through the mud.
Welcome to the channel, Mr. Victims.
It's an inside joke.
Yeah.
Welcome to the channel, Mr. Victims.
Yeah.
All right.
How dare you victim shame, Tiki?
Oh my God. Okay. I think that's it, right? We can move on to the Brooklyn stuff.
Yes.
Okay. Chris, I'll go and give the floor to you because you said you had more.
Wait. To get this to the Brooklyn stuff, the Bill Bomb, the Bonsai Bill Bomb.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well,
It's awesome.
The regular ones are called called bullet bills. But I think the new giant one, like there's like bonsai bills, but I think the giant bill is like specifically created for this like torpedo bill or something or whatever.
I remember you always jumped on like a big one of these like in the game, so like, you jump.
Yeah,
on
those are bonsai bills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well there you go. Okay, so the point is like we have this really awesome bonsai bill that is about to wipe out everything, and it's really cool. And I love that. I was really excited when this thing showed. Like, oh yeah, because we kind of built him up during the training course, and I was like, I wonder if we're ever going to do the big one. Oh god, did we do the big one? I love that was going to be his way of destroying the Mushroom Kingdom. That's great.
Uh-huh.
So, and of course that leads us to Act 3.
All right, Chris.
Yeah, so before anything, I do want to ask you guys something because this was like a question that popped up when I was like watching that scene. So when they got sucked in that pipe, is time like void or like like how does like time work when they were sucked into that? How long were they actually gone?
Well, I mean, they were there at least. I mean, just in terms of the time that was spent in the Mushroom Kingdom, it was at least one day, right?
I got to be honest with you. I don't really. It's kind of like the Rainbow Road thing. I just don't think the real building was really there for that. I don't really think they thought much about it, honestly.
Well, I even if you just take its real time, it's roughly a day. Because I mean, I don't know if we're in the same spot where like the water would be in.
Well, I would say it's about 2 days since the first night would be the obstacle course and the second night would be the Pinocchio stuff.
There you go. So roughly 2 days.
Yeah, because because I do remember when headed into Act 3 where there was a scene right when they were like, I mean, Mario and Luigi's family, they were about to eat dinner. It's as if like they were acting like nothing, like they weren't even gone or anything. Like that to me was the reason why I said like maybe it was kind of rushing a bit. Like there was not much like backstory, or like at least they could have at least shown us like the family being worried or like them noticing that they were gone. So it just made me think like were they like actually gone just for a little bit, and it just felt like forever.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
even in Brooklyn, it was a day-night thing. They were having dinner at night, and then the next day, so it's at least roughly. I mean, even when we're to kind of collapse the time, we're looking at 2 days in the Mushroom Kingdom to. If it is just in the next morning, so it's either they gain time. It's basically, I think it's only a 2-day window, so it's either okay. Oh man, Dad and Mario really mixed it up. Maybe he's not, maybe he's kind of stepping away from the family for a bit.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, if there's anything, it's just 2 days of worry. Otherwise, it's more like a day, like a morning of worry, for all we know.
Yeah. So that's why it's just like that's where it kind of like threw me off for a bit, where it's just like, like how come like the family didn't even kind of like notice, or like they were like trying to like find Mario and Luigi, and then suddenly the worlds collide, and then it just now we see them in Brooklyn, and that's when they suddenly the parents were just like proud of like what Mario and Luigi did to Bowser, and then that was it.
Hey, Dragon.
I know. I was wait on. Don't do it yet.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris. We have a running joke, but go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. I mean that was like pretty much like my point. It was just it just felt it just felt like like suddenly it escalated that quickly, and then we're not even given much like context, or like suddenly the dad was like okay with Mario again, and it's just like okay.
Chris, the dad wasn't just proud, or I'm sorry, he was
proud of his boys.
They're both proud of their boys.
And not just them, Tiki. Not just them. Also,
Cranky Kong is proud of his boy. Oh, God. Yeah, Chris, that whole product that's been a running gag for
I love that.
Anyway,
oh God, we're taking that song back from the shitty people.
Anyway, so the Return to Brooklyn. This is everything the live action film should have been. Let's be honest. This is like, okay, no Dennis Hopper. We're going full Bowser. It's the Return to Brooklyn. So we're going full circle for Bowser versus Mario, like a true boss battle. If you've ever seen one,
it's great. It's like what's great about this, like, shows how much of a threat Bowser can actually be when he's like, dead serious.
I love that it's showcasing the can-do spirit of Mario. Again, to showcase Mario's New Yorker spirit, we're putting him in New York, which is a really cool idea. And, like the
you
family...
mess with the Mario Brothers, you mess with New York!
Yeah. You mess with Nintendo, you deal with the shareholders. So, anyways, yes, they have the...
Nintendo actually does have, like, a store in New York.
Oh, yeah, they definitely do. It's one of the biggest retail spots for Nintendo.
I don't think it's in Brooklyn. It's in
Times Square.
Yeah, it's not in Brooklyn, but it's the same. But it's still technically in the state of New York.
Like a little lemonade stand of Nintendo in Brooklyn, though. Like,
oh my God!
Like a little humble kind of like, hey, look, there's a little table of Nintendo stuff, and we'll put you down on a mailing list.
Flea market, basically.
Yeah. Anyway, so so I love these. So I love they were in New York, we're taking to the streets. They were melding the two worlds, and we have the payoff of the commercial at Punch Out Pizza, where Mario's he's kind of like thinking, I don't think I can do this, and he looks at the commercial on the flickering TV before it breaks. Says, the Super Mario Brothers save Brooklyn. It's like, oh man, that's what I'm saying right there. There's that Bob Hoskins right there, right there.
Totally.
That's what if Bob Hoskins didn't hate that movie, that's how it would have felt. But yeah, so they face down Bowser, with his brother Luigi has. They got thing. We give Luigi a big moment in the movies, but we do. Yeah, he's holding up that manhole cover, and then this I thought was the biggest stroke of brilliance in the movie. The fact that you always figured like, okay, well, traditionally the star does this in the games. It was a big star though, and Rami, when you destroy a castle, does like a little star come up? Is that what happens with Bowser?
No. Generally, it's like it turns into a pile of rubble with a little flag.
Okay, so it's just the flag. Okay, well, regardless, so you have like the star, and then we know tradition happens with the star in the Mario game. So I love that you kind of, as an audience member, especially if you've ever just remotely played one of those games, it's like, wait a minute, they're running towards the star, and if that star is going to give them any sort of power up, it can only be one thing. And when they did, and then they were like, oh god, they're invincible, and they're going around, and we have like the excellent score, and like, oh man, they're kicking the crap out of Bowser, it's like, yeah.
I love how that's like the most triumphant moment in the whole score.
It's like the reversal of Kung Fu Panda, only now Jack Black's the bad guy. So he's taking out Tai Long, and only Tai Long in this case is Po.
Tai Long.
I will say I am not exactly sure how you would do this with the logic of the Power Star defeating Bowser and everything, but one of the very few things that I was kind of disappointed that they didn't include, which make no mistake, that is a very short list with this movie, but I was a little bit disappointed we didn't get a Bowser tail grab.
So long, Bowser.
Exactly.
Sorry, Drake.
I don't know.
Didn't mean to interrupt you earlier.
No, it's fine. That was like when the finale started. The tail grab was kind of one of the things I was looking for. So
I love that the star ultimately is the perfect answer to a Deus. It's like the acceptable Deus Ex Machina.
oh, absolutely.
It's like, if we're gonna do a Deus Ex Machina, this is the Mario way of how you do it. This is the proper way of how you do a Deus Ex Machina. It's literally a star that gives you all the powers. You can take out all the bad guys. Shrink Bowser, like a little shrinking mushroom. And then Peach. Peach got her turtle. She got Cuff. If she got another one, it'd be Cuff and Link. So she got Bowser. Gonna call it Eric Bowser.
Oh my god! And then Doug Bowser.
The president of Nintendo of America's name is literally Doug Bowser.
Yes,
God.
spelled exactly the same.
Oh, Princess Peach, what are you gonna call it? I'm gonna call him Doug.
Oh my god, dude! That would have been a solid joke. In
all seriousness, though, they should do a gag in these movies if they do more. Like when Bowser's like, if they do like a little gag, like factoid gag, like Bowser's like filling out paperwork or something really mundane.
Or maybe he's like trying to go like maybe he's like steal someone's uniform or something, trying to, like do one of those disguises, and the name tag is Doug.
Yeah, at some point, honestly, I just want his real full name to be Doug Bowser.
Just Doug Bowser.
I want that to be that. It was always like that, but no one ever asked. That's what I wanted to be. Honestly, I just wanted to be King of the Koopas, Doug Bowser, King of the Koopas. Imagine Bowser just trying to schmooze people, just walks into an office and like do like a pair. Because Mario was playing Nintendo, so what if like Bowser? Imagine his revenge comebacks where I just talk about insane stuff. He's good. What if Bowser just walked into an office and his real revenge plot was essentially profiting off the Mario name and basically selling to the real world the Super Mario Brothers game and copywriting it? He was like, "So who are you, Doug Bowser? How are you, enterprising individuals? So here's my plan. I have these two plumbers. They're not important, but here's the real star, Bowser. No relation." Just this really cool looking turtle.
He's really cool.
Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah, there's gonna be his song will sound like Peaches, Peaches, but it's gonna be a little more techno-y, Yeah.
Right.
Then of course we have the proud of his boys moment.
Yep. I will say I thought the whole like the dimensions kind of blending into each other thing that was a little confusing. I honestly think the ending maybe was a little bit rushed. I would have liked to get
was that your read? My read wasn't that they fully blended. I just thought they're basically helping fix the place, and then when we were in the Mushroom Kingdom. I don't know if we were actually blended. Are you saying
they literally wake up in the mushroom? So are you saying your read was that they go ahead, Jacob?
Well, I wasn't really saying anything, but my interpretation was like the people of the Mushroom Kingdom helped like rebuild Brooklyn, but then Mario and Luigi went to live in the Mushroom Kingdom.
That was my read on it as well.
Right.
Same.
I just that's fine. I just wish we would have kind of spent a little bit more time on that status quo.
I thought it was like a little surprise, like, oh man, they're living in the Mushroom Kingdom. That's kind of nice.
I don't know.
Blue Sky. It's a feel good ending.
I'm just saying they have that whole big Italian family on Earth, so it's like,
well, it's not like they can never visit.
Yeah, I know.
They can just easily go back.
Right.
and of course, like they finally have it. They finally, their parents are finally proud of their boys.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and they actually have a stable and steady job. Helping the Mushroom Kingdom.
You gotta wonder about they're being paid in gold coins. You think they're transferable?
I would imagine so. I don't know.
I wonder what the exchange rate would be.
I mean, do you think it works like gold bullion? It's like they bring back giant gold coins.
Now the question is, how would you be able to save your life? Would they be able to save your life if you collect 100 of them?
Ah.
I'm just imagining like the difference in value is really extreme, and so it's like they do a couple plumbing jobs and they're just fucking set for like years.
Like their actual gold.
Right.
It's like, the stuff's all over the place here. You guys can use them if you want. All right.
And that's the real reason why they're in the Mushroom Kingdom. Because it's all about the gold.
all about the Benjamins.
God.
That's an
They
old
see
reference.
me rolling.
That's an old reference, too.
I know. All right.
I mean, an apt reference, nonetheless.
Hey, let me ask you this.
And both are subject to parodies by Weird Al.
Yeah.
Does Luigi get a princess?
Yes.
Daisy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, ironically enough, is her characterization is actually close to Peach in this movie.
Yeah, I didn't mind that though, because I think Daisy has more. Like, I think there's more stuff you could flesh out with Daisy's personality. I'm imagining Daisy is going to be like the sporty one, whereas Peach is more of the badass one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. Daisy could be in the next movie as well.
Okay, should we transition to that?
We need to talk about before that, the Luma first off.
Oh yeah, we went this whole time without talking about
But the freaking every time they touch, I was like that freaking Luma.
All I could think when I was in the theater was like, this is some of the hardest laughs that I am having in this movie. And I know for a fact that there are kids in this movie theater that have no idea why this is funny.
Yeah, the Luma went over big in the theater.
No hope, only the sweet release of death.
Oh my god.
God.
And then at the credits, he's pulled out the mic with the saxophone, which was glorious, by the way.
Come to think of it, I'm kind of surprised. Well, I don't know. I don't really know where they would have used it. I'm kind of surprised Jump Up Superstar wasn't used anywhere, like even orchestrally.
I mean, that makes sense. I mean, they'll probably work up to it. Besides, Pauline is the one who sang it in New Donk City.
Right. And Pauline is definitely like,
she's like
I imagine she's someone that we could possibly rope in the future.
I mean, she was seen in the movie. She was the mayor, I think.
Was she really? That I missed that then.
Or she was the one talking about the pipes being broken.
Oh, that totally went over my head. Okay, I did not think that.
That's the design she had from Odyssey.
Right. Okay.
I remember she's technically the one that led Mario and Luigi to go underground to fix the pipe.
Oh, good call, Jacob. Good call.
I mean, I think she's even listed as like Pauline or something.
Uh-huh.
So,
All right, that's fair. Okay, so I guess we can break. There's not really a lot to the post-credit scenes, honestly.
Yeah, it's just Yoshi's in New York. That's really.
And then Tiny Jack Black.
and also just one minor thing, or maybe not a minor thing, was like former President Satoru Iwata.
Yeah.
I was like, aw.
And I said this before off mic, but like I got chills when I saw Miyamoto's name in the credits, man. Chills.
Yeah.
Miyamoto has been so actively against doing Nintendo movies for so long.
Until he actually met with like the Chris Meledandri and like they got to talking and that's what basically set this movie on course. It's like their chance meeting, or I don't know if it was chance or like something they specifically set up. Like I think it was like when they were doing negotiations for the theme parks, and then that's what led them to meet.
All right, so I've got a lot of different thoughts for the future of this franchise. I'm gonna give myself a hard. We're at an hour 37 right now for the podcast. We will end this at an hour 50 one way or another. It doesn't have to go on that long, but like that's gonna be like the max. But yeah, okay. So first off, the second Mario movie, I need my Wario and Waluigi. I need it badly. Like,
do you want them to be rivals or like Bizarro clones?
I honestly would rather just have them be rivals. I've heard the Bizarro clones thing be thrown out there, but I think it would be funnier if they were just rival plumbers who were ripping off the gimmick.
That would be good. That would be a good idea.
Because we established, like, the whole, like, the white gloves. Everyone's got to have a gimmick.
Yep, that would make sense. Yeah, and okay. What if? Here's your plot. Wario is going after Yoshi, thinking Yoshi's like a bad guy, and you kind of in conjunction with all the Bowser stuff.
I don't necessarily know about that because Wario is very like centered on himself. I don't think he would be doing anything like for the purpose of I've got to get this person because he's bad.
No. I mean like as the business thing, like a gimmick of like we're gonna be par on like we're gonna go verbatim for what Mario did going up against Bowser. There's a new threat in the city.
I see what you're saying.
It's like we're gonna go after this Yoshi menace. Something's left here. We're gonna get it.
Yeah, Jacob, you should probably come back if you can't hear anything. Yes, okay. All right, Jacob's having a few technical issues. Okay, so Koski, I want to point out one of the comments you made. Let me see.
Not Koski.
Richard's victims.
There you go.
I want them to make a Luigi spinoff where Luigi and other Mario characters that aren't Mario run a bar in Philadelphia doing irreverent humor.
Yeah, it's Always Sunny talk for the casting of Wario.
But I'm going to go back to my Punch-Out pitch, man. Like we need to build out this Brooklyn, and the way to do that is a Punch-Out movie, and that way you could get all of the obscure Nintendo characters in there. Just saying.
Who's the bearded character, Tiki?
Huh?
Their bearded friend from the opening in Brooklyn. Who was that guy? The guy with the sunglasses and the
he is Spike, and in the game, Spike is like a turtle thing.
Okay. All right,
Jacob, Jacob's having problems.
Okay, I have a simple thing I want in the sequel. I just want Goombas. I want Goombas. I want at least a fair amount of Goombas or an equal amount of Goombas. I want my Goombas. Darn it.
Okay, but there's not a lot you can really do with the Goombas, though. Like characterization wise, what can you do with the Goombas?
Well, no, I'm not saying. I'm saying as far as our henchmen, I just want them there as henchmen. I just want to be able to jump on their heads. I just want them to be like if we have like forces coming up, I'd like to see it.
Recently in the games they've been doing like stacks of Goombas, so that would be cool.
I'm just saying in general. I want to say we can see at the same time. We got the turtle, we got the Koopas, we got the Goombas. Like instead of just being kind of squirreled away in the background during a big action, you're like, okay, they're there like half and half. That's all I want.
Uh-huh. Jacob, are you there? Can you hear us? Crap.
Big question. Do we do a Kirby crossover? Do we bring Kirby in the thing? Do we do each movie? Do we introduce a new video game crossover?
Let's talk about that because I definitely have ideas for that. I think a Zelda movie should absolutely be like one of the next steps here in the cinematic universe. I think it only makes sense. Let me see. I definitely think we should have a Donkey Kong movie. I definitely think we should have a second Mario movie. Yeah. And my personal way to do it, and this might be unpopular, I have always thought that you could cross over the space side of Nintendo and have a movie that's essentially a Star Fox movie or a Metroid movie, but I don't know. I kind of feel like Star Fox and Metroid are both like properties that are popular enough to include within like a cinematic universe, but maybe not popular enough to have whole movie. Like again, there's kind of like a cosmic Nintendo universe, if you will. That like Pikmin would be a part of that as well. Mario Galaxy also. Jacob?
Yeah, I mean that sounds good.
Okay, you there? Okay, cool.
Sorry, right. I was experiencing audio issues for some.
It's all good.
So overall, how much of this do you think should be characters getting their own movies, or should the introduction be in other movies to get their own movies? Like we already have Donkey Kong set up, so that wouldn't be an easy spin-off. I mean, it's like for example, like a Link or a Kirby movie, a Legend of Zelda or a Kirby movie.
Kirby, I don't know. I honestly think Kirby would be a good one to introduce in a Smash Brothers movie.
Okay.
Just because his whole thing is like copying other people.
Like Kirby actually already did start in an anime, but it might be kind of hard to have like a whole movie based around him.
I think there's stuff you could do with Kirby. The Kirby games do get surprisingly dark.
Oh yeah, I'm well aware of that much.
You also have like the whole dynamic where King DDD is kind of like the Bowser style like comedic villain, and the Meta Knight is I don't know. I think there's stuff you could do.
Yeah, let me ask you this: you brought up a good point, Tiki. What if a sequel were like your Civil War of the Nintendo movies, so to speak, was Smash Brothers, and you have like your heavy hitter, basically your Ant-Man?
I absolutely think there should be a Smash Brothers. Like I think that's what this is all building to. It's got to be.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, Dre. You saying something about Ant-Man? What about Ant-Man?
I mean, Kirby's kind of your Ant-Man.
That's what I'm saying. I think either introduce Kirby like right before Smash Brothers, or do I honestly think Kirby could be a good kind of like plot device for a Smash Brothers movie.
All
right. And yeah, like I said, Zelda seems pretty imminent. Jacob, I was kind of bringing this up when you were having audio issues. What do you think of like a movie that just kind of like broadly explores the cosmic side of Nintendo?
That'd be really pretty interesting.
Like F-Zero, Metroid, Star Fox, Pikmin. Throw it all in there.
I mean, I don't think those would all work together singularly. Like especially like if you're doing like Metroid and Pikmin together. Those kinds of things would like severely clash, unless they're like kind of like.
You're probably right.
I mean, if they're doing like considering like Metroid is kind of like akin to like Aliens, whereas F-Zero is like death racing basically.
Okay, to be fair, I think at the very least, I do think Metroid and F-Zero could go together, just on the basis that Captain Falcon is a bounty hunter.
I mean, that is a fair point, and I mean. Basically, they just need to do a Metroid movie. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Star Fox is honestly the tricky one.
I think considering the short length of some of the Star Fox games, I think that lends itself to a movie adaptation quite well.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, Star Fox 64 can be beaten in like just a couple hours.
Right, but that's kind of my concern. Like, I don't necessarily think there's a whole heck of a lot there for a Star Fox movie. Like,
I mean,
the series itself literally has two major female characters.
I mean, they could always do more, and it's not really that big of. I don't know. I'm not gonna say anything to get myself in hot water or anything, but as I said, I still think there's enough like ancillary material and stuff to work with within like the background lore within the Star Fox universe that would lend itself great to an adaptation of sorts.
Right. Well, yeah, Metroid would be the one thing that I do question with Metroid. I honestly think it's one of the most wanted adaptations. That being said, I question if Illuminations would be the one to do it, and if it would fit into this particular cinematic universe. I almost feel like a Metroid movie would be better as its own thing in live action. Like, totally disattached from this whole universe.
I mean, I don't think it necessarily needs to be live action per se. I think the individual games are like stylized enough where I think it would lose a bit of what makes it Metroid.
You think?
Honestly,
I don't know. I guess maybe you've played more Metroid than I have, but I feel like they tend to go for a pretty grounded, gritty tone.
I know, but even then, they're still quite stylized in a way. Like they're never really going into very realistic territory.
Okay, well, this is just basically like turned into my vanity. One quick thing: Wario, I think, absolutely should be built to rival Plumbers. At the end of the movie, he has WarioWare Inc., and instead of that being just a mini game factory, it's like a legit like Google business or something. Like he becomes like a like an evil businessman by the end of the movie, like a Biff Tannen in the future kind of situation. I don't know, just throwing it out there. Chris, do you have anything like? I know you're a little bit more of a casual fan of the games, but anything you'd like to see in future movies?
Yeah, I mean, like I think for me, definitely Daisy has to be in the next one. Like 100%. In terms of like how she's gonna be introduced, that's where I'm kind of blanking out on. Like, I don't know if Luigi just happens to like stumble across her.
She could be the princess of another kingdom that they go to.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, in the game, she started as princess of Sarasaland.
Yeah, regardless, we got to give Luigi maybe. Do you think Luigi could lead the movie, or at least do a like? Cause we talked about a Luigi's Mansion sort of like short film for Halloween.
I mean, he could totally lead a movie.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what do you? I mean, let me ask you this: if you had an option between him getting like a full like short, like Luigi's Mansion, or just being featured in a movie that was not necessarily Luigi's Mansion, what would you want?
I think Luigi, like I said, Luigi's Mansion as a Halloween thing, like that kind of is just like too good to pass up.
I mean, I honestly think Luigi's Mansion could carry a movie.
No, it could carry a movie. I'm just trying to think if they
but the question is, who would play Egad?
I think Luigi's Mansion would be a phase 2. Like, if it is a movie, if it's a full-blown movie and not a short, I think that'd be more of a phase 2 after Super Smash Brothers kind of thing. Just because I think there's more real building to flesh out with the mainline Mario universe. But okay, well, I guess we'll go ahead and get wrapped up. Chris, I do want to give you a chance to because you are on the production side of things for Power Grab Season 3, so I want to give you a chance to quickly plug that.
Yeah, so I'm currently on production for Power Grab Season 3. That's pretty much like a Skype-based online reality game that is pretty much like the premise is like everybody has like a power and it's a survivor style kind of game. This season's theme is actually based on Big Brother US, so everything's going to be Big Brother themed, all of the powers. And yeah, fun fact, that's how I actually met Tiki. Because we played Season 2 together. And yeah, we're currently starting the season for Season 3 on April 13th to the 30th. So yeah, it should be very exciting.
Cool. All right, well, Chris, thanks for coming on. Man, next time we get you on, we'll definitely have something where it's like, because I kind of feel bad. Like, I will admit, behind the scenes, Dragon did kind of call this where it's like, Kiki, if you introduce a fourth guy, he's just kind of going to get drowned out because the other three have a built-in rapport. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of exactly what happened. So I'm sorry about that, Chris. Next time we bring you on, we'll definitely try and make it like a smaller panel so you can have more of a voice here. But, regardless, it was a pleasure to have you.
Oh, no, I mean, like, I never got that impression. I feel very honored to be amongst you guys. Thank you so much for having me and talking about the film. It's always nice to just like, it's my first time being in the podcast too, so maybe that's also kind of like me being also shy. Like,
well, like I really do think it comes down to like Dragon, Jacob, and I. If you can't already tell, we kind of got a rapport, so I kind of threw you into the deep end of that without realizing it. So I will totally take ownership of that.
Oh no, you're totally good. I never got that impression, and
okay.
I've enjoyed the past 2 hours just like chatting with you guys about the film. So thank you so much again for having me.
Yeah, of course. Dragon, Jacob, any last words?
Yoshi.
Yeah, it's did a really good. I think they did really good work with this. I mean, we'll see what happens, what they got next. But let's just hope for more really cool Nintendo stuff from Illumination.
I mean, Nintendo even acquired an animation studio.
Oh, that's true. I love seeing that.
so it's clear that probably due to their positive experience working on this film, that they're like going full in on it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, just a shout out Theme Park Priest, New Horizons Music, just telling me to play Mario RPG. Evan, if they put it on the Nintendo Switch Online, I would, but they haven't, so I don't know what to tell you there. And of course, a big special thanks to our totally new, not at all reoccurring commenter, Richard's Victims. Again, very sketchy username.
How dare you besmirch? He's a victim. Tiki. How could you?
He's not the victim. It's I don't know. It's that's fine. That's fine. All right. Okay. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you for playing my game.
Peaches, 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 peaches.
Mamma mia.